Hello and welcome to the eXtremeRate channel. Now in this video we'll show you how to install the LED light kit on the Nintendo Switch Pro controller. The first up is the unboxing, and what you get in the pack is the first thing you're going to get out is all kind of like your electronics. Then you're going to get a bag of like rubber pieces that sit behind the buttons on the Pro controller. Next up you're going to get a little mini screwdriver, then a bag of screws. You can replace all the screws on your Pro controller if you need to. Little manual, and then a big pack of all the buttons, and starting off with a couple of thumbsticks that you'll need. The D-pad and all of the appropriate face buttons for the controller. Also ZL, ZR and L and R. And finally a little screwdriver and a pair of tweezers. So onto the mod itself. Now the first thing you're going to do is flip up the Pro controller, and on the bottom you'll see two easily accessible screws. All you're going to do is just get them unscrewed, put them to one side so you know where the screws have come from. Then once they're out, this bit's dead easy. All you're going to do is just pull them off, and it'll just come off by hand, and then put them to one side because you won't be needing them until we put them back on later in the build. Then flip the Pro controller over so you're looking at the back, and you're going to see 4 screws that you need to unscrew. Again, just unscrew them and just put them to one side so you know which holes they've come from. Now once they're all out, you can use fingertips or just get a plastic prying tool and just go around all of the edges, just making sure you can pop that back piece off the Pro controller. It shouldn't offer much resistance really. Then all you can do is pull that back piece off, put it to one side. Now you're going to pop the battery out. This again is dead simple. Prying tool or fingertip, get it into the side of the battery, and again just pick that out and put it to one side. Now we've got 5 more screws as indicated. Use a screwdriver, again unscrew them all, put them to one side just so you know where those 5 have come from. Now once all 5 are out, open up the shell. It should be relatively easy, but don't separate it just yet because they will be attached by a cable. So get a prying tool or your fingernail and just pop that little black flap at the back, pop it up, and then the cable can easily come out. So pull the cable out and the 2 parts will easily separate. So what we're going to do, we're going to be focusing on what is essentially the front of the controller. Now take this, and as you'll see indicated there, just pop that little black flap up as we did separating the pieces and pull the cable out from the top. Now what we've got is 2 more screws, so get your screwdriver and just pop those 2 screws out. Again, as before, just put them somewhere where you know where they've come from. So now what we're going to do is grab the piece with all the triggers on, and we're going to be removing the triggers. So L and R, they just pop off. They're dead simple. Now with ZL and ZR, it's a little bit more different, but it's just as easy. They basically have a metal rod behind them. So go for either trigger, and go from what would be essentially be the outside of the controller and push the rod towards the inside of the controller. So push that in from one side, then flip it over, and you'll see the rod has come out. Just use your tweezers just to pull the rods out. Then once they're out, the trigger comes off really easily. And the same with the other one. Just go to the outside of the controller and push the rod towards the inside of the controller. Really simple. It shouldn't offer any resistance really. And then just flip it over and you'll see the rod has started to come out. Again, grab your tweezers and pull that rod out. Once out, the trigger will just be able to come off easily as with the other one. Now what we're going to do is remove the 4 dark coloured rubber pads from the controller. So simply using your fingers, just pull them off. They shouldn't offer much resistance at all. And then put them to one side. We won't be needing these again because we're going to be using the ones from the pack. Now you'll see that there is a board already on that piece. You can leave that on there if you want to, or take it off. I found just leaving it on is just as good. You don't really need it. So grab your bag of kind of like electronic boards, and the first one you're going to grab is this one. So this one looks like this shape. It has kind of like the 4 gold circles on it. And those gold circles are going to fit on those 4 places where the triggers are. So to line it up, put it in the middle and it sits under kind of a little clasp. And then feed the board round through some clasps so all 4 kind of gold circles sit where those 4 spaces are where you took the rubber pieces off. Make sure both sides are sat level and make sure that just the cable is nice and flush in through the clasps. It's relatively easy to do this. You'll see it when you're doing it, and you'll see that they 4 kind of just sit on the board there nice and flush. So once you've got that, just double check you've got the cables here where it's indicated, just so it's fed through. And then from the pack, you're going to grab 4 of the rubber pads, 2 that have prongs on and 2 that don't have prongs on. So these are the 2 that don't have the prongs on. One has a small circle hole, one has a kind of like a rectangular hole. Just put that on there. You can see it visually where you do it. The kind of like the prong is on the outside and the rectangular bit is on the inside. Just put the rubber bits on there. On the back 2, and then on the front 2 pieces you're going to get the 2 rubber pieces that have a long and a short prong on them as shown. Poke them into the holes. I find it easier just to go from underneath and pull it through, and just make sure that when you look at it from kind of like a side angle, you'll see the longer prong is on the inside and the shorter prong is on the outside or the left side. Finally, grab the last one. Long one on the left, short one on the right. Pull them through and just make sure that it's nice and flush. Now once that's done, we're going to put the triggers back on. Start with ZL or ZR. What you can do is just place it onto the button and then again get that metal rod and you're going to feed it through. So from kind of like where the inside of the controller is, you'll see a hole. You're just going to poke that rod through that hole and it won't offer any resistance. Just poke it in, press it down, and then we're in. Then just give it a quick press just to see that it clicks okay. Next up, do the other side of it. This time we're going to do ZR. Place that on, then get the metal rod into the hole, push it through, same as the other one. And then just give it a little tap just to make sure that it clicks nicely. Next up, we're going to do L and R. Again, really easy. Just press them on and just make sure they snap in. And that's literally it. Very easy. Give it a quick press just to test it. And again with L. Same way, just place it onto the fastening. Push it in so it snaps. And then it's in. Now what we're going to do is grab the front piece of the controller, and you see the board here, and there's 2 screws that we're going to be unscrewing. So just pop those out and go and put them somewhere where you know where they've come from. Then the board, it just comes away, so just pick it up and put it to one side. Now we're going to take all of these off, so the rubber bit behind all the buttons, the rubber bit behind the D-pad, take the D-pad out, A, B, X and Y, take all of those buttons out, and then also take the rubber bits behind the home button, screenshot button, plus and minus. Put them to one side, because we won't be needing those, and into the pack of what you got from the unboxing, and put all the buttons back in. Now, you can just know where they go, A, B, X and Y, but having said that, Nintendo have made this really easy. You cannot go wrong because of the fittings of them. They all slot in and they're all unique, so you can't really go wrong with these buttons. Next up, get the rubber bit from the pack, place it onto there, and again, you can't go wrong with this. There's only one way it can go. Press that on. Then the D-pad from the pack. Exactly the same, can only go one way, so put that on, followed by the rubber piece on the behind it. And then again, unique rubber pieces for the buttons, plus, minus, home and screenshot. Now from the pack, you're going to grab the board. You'll see the one side has a load of like gold pieces on it. All you can do is flip this over so it's more of a plain black. And you're going to grab the L piece. Have a look on screen and just double check that the piece you are getting is for the L. But we're going to be putting it onto the right hand side because we're kind of doing this from behind. So pick it into the little clasp on the right there and close it up. Then you're going to grab the other piece, which is the R side. Again, just double check that that is the R piece. And we're going to put it onto the left-hand side. Again, because this is the left stick. Poke it in, press the black flap down just to secure it in place. Now get that piece and put it onto what is the front casing of the controller. There's only one way this can go. And we're going to pop back in the 2 screws that we took out earlier. There we go. Now once that's done, just flip it over. Just make sure the buttons feel okay. We'll be doing a test later on, but just make sure that they feel okay when you press them. So spin it over then. And now we're going to do a bit which is a little bit fiddly, but it's okay if you take your time. We're going to take these 2 pieces and take the brown piece of paper off, and it will leave a sticky bit underneath. And we're going to stick this on the inside of the thumbstick casing here. Now, as you'll see, there's a little ridge that goes down. The upper ridge, we're going to stick this perfectly on the inside of this thumbstick. So start with one of the ends and then kind of line it up with the edge of the ridge as far to the top as you can. Get it stuck and then just make your way around, just making sure that it gets stuck perfectly. Can you see there that it's lined up? So make sure that's lined up and then just make your way around. But don't worry about having to unstick it and stick it again. This will last a few times, and as you'll see, kind of get stuck a little bit, but you can easily pull it off and reattach it. That's no problem at all. Just take your time and work all the way around so it's all beautifully fit. There we go. And then once it's round, you'll see that it fits perfectly with the ridge on the thumbstick casing. Now just press it down with your fingers just to make sure that it's all nicely secure. Now we're moving over to the other one, which is essentially the right stick. Now this is a little bit different. You won't be kind of lining it up. What you're going to be doing is going to be putting it on the inside of the thumbstick track, but it's going to be below the ridge. So you'll see there is a smaller ridge cut out on the thumbstick. So just bend it over just so you get a nice angle for it and start sticking it round, but a few millimeters from the top, just so it goes below the level of that ridge. So start with the bit nearest you and just stick it down, but a little bit further down. As you'll see here, it just goes underneath that piece. Again, don't worry too much about pulling it off and reattaching it. It's sticky enough to take a good few times of it pulling it off. This one, compared to the other one, you don't need to be as accurate because it doesn't matter how far around it goes. Just make sure that it's down below the level of that ridge. Then once that's on, just use your fingers just to make sure that it's nicely secure onto the inside. Now grab the piece with all the triggers on, and you're going to see that there are two fitting holes indicated here, here, here and here. Place it onto the board, just make sure they sit nicely into those pieces. And then we're going to be screwing in 2 screws, get those back in and screw them in. Now right in the center, you'll see that there's a clasp. You're going to undo that clasp and fit that cable into it. So just pull it up gently. So it pulls out. Then grab that middle piece, feed it into there. It's a little bit fiddly, but just use the tweezers to make it easier. And then push the small black piece back down into the cable, just to make it nice and secure. Now over onto the other side of the controller, and you're going to have a cable here. So just bang up the black flap. There's a big one, this one, and then pop it in and then press it down to make it secure. Now grab the other part of the controller and you're going to replace these thumbsticks so we get the RGB coming through. So simply pull them off. That's all you're going to do. Grab the 2 thumbsticks out of your pack and place them back onto. They work both ways, left or right. It doesn't matter which one goes where. Push it on just so it's nice and secure. Now grab the front piece and rest it onto the back piece. and we've got to attach a cable. So you'll see this blue piece here. This fits into the flap. So pull up the flap, poke in the blue piece very gently, make sure it's all the way in, and then fold the black flap down, and it'll be in there nice and secure. Now what you're going to do is place the two pieces together. You can do this by hand. It should be easy. Just give it a little bit of a wiggle, and then all the pieces will kind of snap together. Make sure the thumbsticks come through the holes. Press it all together. And we're just basically reversing the process. So we're going to have the 5 screws back in. Get them all screwed in nice and firm. Once all those screws are in, grab your battery, and then place it back into its port. Now the back plate, place it on, make sure it just all sits in nicely, and then we've got to do 4 more screws, put them back in nice and firm. You can use the silver ones out of the kit for this. And once they're in, grab your 2 pieces that you took off earlier from the controller, push them on, and then it's the final 2 screws. Flip it up and put the 2 screws back in at the end of the controller. So there we have it then, that's the mod done. And now what we're going to do is I'm just going to tell you how to go through the LED colour settings instructions. So we have different blocks here, so you can change the colours independently of the triggers, thumbsticks, D-pad and the face buttons. You turn these on and off by pressing L, R on the D-pad and Y for about 5 to 10 seconds, and that will either turn it on or off. Now once it's on, if you hold down L and Y for about 5 seconds, when the left joystick starts slowly flashing, that means that we're into settings mode. You press L and Y and it will change the block, so between the 2 thumbsticks, the D-pad, the X, Y, A and B, and the triggers. Once you've got to the block that you want to change, it will be flashing. All you're going to do is hold right on the D-pad for 1 second and that will change the colour option. Press it again, it will go on to the next colour, press it again, it will go on to the next colour, or press L to return to the last colour option. Then L and Y will go to the next block and repeat the process. R on the D-pad to change the colour. Y and L go to the next block, R on the D-pad to change the colour again. Then once you're happy with that, press L and Y for about 5 seconds to exit settings mode. There we go. There we have it. Happy customizing. Take care. Bye-bye.